Everybody, hopefully you can hear me. If there's anyone in the chat, can just confirm. Hopefully that's all loaded up and we are good to go. We've got 9 people in the chat so far. That's great. We're here again Saturday, wrap up of the week. I think the Saturday streams are going to be. We'll do a couple of streams during the week from time to time, depending on what's going on, some of the announcements, if there's any big activity like there was earlier in the week. But the Saturday, or at least the weekend, depending on what's going on, will be the main stream, and we'll sort of have a look back at the week, what's been going on, take a little bit of a look at some of the sales, some of the bargains, and also have a bit of a question and answer if anyone's got any particular things they want to have a look at. Always with these streams, this is only stream number 3, so we're still finding our feet with it. But if anyone's got any suggestions, if anyone's got any ideas for what you think might work better in terms of what we're doing with it all, just shoot through a DM. I'm usually on Discord quite a bit, and just give us a shout. Okay, let me just screen size this up properly. There we go. All right, I think as we normally do, we'll have a quick look at the floor. Interestingly, this week there's been a bit of movement around the floor, and I think there's been, largely speaking, most of the week, the floor has been under, we've had under 10 teams that have been under mint price for the floor. So at the moment, the floor is 0.064. We've got the 7 teams now that are under the initial mint price. That's the lowest we've been since that first week of the mint. And as you can see, there's a couple, for those of you that go on regularly, there's a couple of these teams that are hanging around. The Storm Cyclops, the Taunton Beef have been there for quite a while, and I know that the zombies are making a comeback. Make zombies great again. I'm convinced we're going to get that trending. Actually need to check out which Stan Wawrinka was rumored to be getting a zombie after Millman knocked it back, but I don't think he ended up with one. So if he shunned the zombies, I don't know if there's much hope. But as you can see there, there's 3 zombies in the bottom 7. But I guess why we're focusing on the floor and under the mint price, it's usually one of those emotional barriers. Now for this project, the long-term thinking, it's not the end of the world, but I always keep an eye on it. And seven teams, around about half an ETH, 0.6 of an ETH away from getting back over that mint price. I think that shows that we're progressing in the right direction, and that's, as I say, the lowest we've been since we minted. We'll move on to the recently listed. Now, the recently listed, I have a look at this before we go live, and this is the page that I refresh the most when I have a look on recently listed. Just give a few shout outs whilst we're there. Daryl, Brandon. Now I know it's not Little Lucas, but that's what you're getting called. That's what you're getting called for the rest of the pod. Thanks for logging in. What I would say is, in the chat, you'll need to be able to use the chat function to enter the giveaway today. We've got a bit of a giveaway going on live during the stream. $100 merch pack to the winner of that. If you've got any questions, anything you want to look specifically at, anything you want to pick mine or the audience's brain on, just drop it in the chat, and we'll try and have a look at it as we go through the stream if we haven't already picked up on it. So what we're looking at here is the recently listed, so the buy it now recently listed. Now, interestingly, tonight, a lot of the recently listed, and I don't know if Justice is on the line, Justice Albatross might not be logging in. Why don't we just quickly jump on over to the Discord while we're here, and just put in the general chat that we are live, because I think there's a few people that are on there now that probably don't know that we're live. So the reason I mentioned Justice is he's listed around about 24, 25 of his teams just before we joined on. So from the Elevated Monkeys all the way down, I think down to around here. the Super Smash Koalas are all Justice Albatross's pieces. So that dominates now. As we all know, Justice is our resident wheel, over 70 teams. He's a shrewd operator. You're probably, any teams that he has, you're probably looking at on or around the money. I've had a good look through a lot of his teams. I think they're all listed at fair and reasonable prices for the current market. So I don't think they're bargains that you should go and snipe straight away necessarily, but I also think they're absolutely fair. So if there's a team that takes your fancy there, absolutely dive into that. Just before we came on live, we had a couple of gold listings, both from DTAC. Now, DTAC, I don't know if he realizes when I'm going to go on the stream and then puts these things up for sale because he knows what we're looking at. That could be a bit of a tactic because they're on for 1 hour listings, trying to get a bit of free airtime. But the Moscow Z-Heads, Sam Mitchell's future team, have made a bit of a comeback. And absolutely, yeah, the Wuhan Kings, which a number of us have looked at before, it's an absolute beautiful team, but the price is absolutely there. The Moscow Z-Heads jumps around quite a bit. I think if you're into the golds, then go for your life, and there's quite a few golds up for grabs at the moment. But I think of the recently listed, you're pretty much worth just going on to Justice's page and having a look, seeing if there's anything you like. What I would say is, as I've said, they're priced to sell. I think they're reasonable. Justice is always interested in trades with the amount that he's got. If you see something you like at a price that you think you've got a team that you maybe don't like, there's probably something for everyone in his roster. Have a word with them, speak to him on the DMs. They might be able to be able to do a trade. You don't necessarily have to buy and swap around. So I think if there's something that you see in these recently listed 20-25 pieces, that's my advice. I don't think there's anything there over the last, it's been a bit of a slow day today, that I think you should dive on straight away, but it comes down to personal opinion, and I think you'd probably do well getting a trade out of Justice. I'm reliably informed that he may take some Wrapped ETH offers which are there or thereabouts. You might squeeze an extra 0.01 or 0.005 out of him depending on the price, but I think they're more than reasonable, the prices on those. So I think out of the recently listed, it's probably a conversation with Justice if you're interested in anything there. Just want to run through a few stats. This is something that a few of us talk about in the Discord, and if there's anything anybody wants us to start tracking, we track quite a bit, partly for just out of my own interest, but also we track quite a bit just to keep an eye on the health of the the project. I'm into that sort of stuff. The main thing we've been tracking is the number of teams below 0.15 ETH. It's a sort of an arbitrary number. 1 second, bit of an echo on there. Is everyone getting that? I'll just have a bit of an echo on there. 1 second, I'll just see if I can kill off. Sorry about that, guys. That should be fixed. The teams above below 0.15 ETH, from around about 3 weeks ago, there was about 190 teams below 0.15 ETH, and it slowly started to creep up for about a week, and then it dipped down. There was a big surge, and then from the 7th of November, the last 2 weeks, we've seen a steady rise every day, 3 or 4 or 5 extra teams being listed at that price. And on Monday or Tuesday this week, we got to a peak of 247 teams at that value. Since Monday, and we'll have a look at what went on Monday or Tuesday, but we've seen a steady decline, and over the last 5 or 6 days, every day it's gone down and down and down for those teams below 0.15. We've started to track 0.12 in the teams below that price, and also the teams below 0.1, and each of those layers are going down. So today there's 225 teams below the 0.15 ETH, which is not a lot at all, given that there's 10,000 teams in the project. For anyone who is interested, if you click on some of the headline banners of the NFTeams OpenSea page and click on volume traded, you get a little bit of an extra analysis. What I've got on up here is the activity for the last 30 days. This little bump here represents what happened on Monday and Tuesday. Monday and Tuesday was the the biggest amount of sale activity we'd seen for a month since the mint. We've been going for about 4 weeks now, almost a month since the mint, and we had around about 35 teams sold within a 24-hour period over Monday and Tuesday this week, which is what you can see at this point here. And you have to go all the way back to mint or the week of the mint for that volume. Obviously, we all want to see great volume. The gas price at the moment is hurting us, and I think there are certain times during the week where we see the gas dropping, and I've noticed the correlation between the gas price and the amount of sale activity. So gas below 100 now. The historical gas price over the last few hours, I know it's been up under 100, but you're seeing amounts of 70, 80. I got down to 60 not so long ago. Where is it? 67. So these are really good gas prices compared to what we've been living with. And I expect to see the tail off here. That's been a slow week in terms of the sales, increase back up. So if there's anything you're looking for, definitely the weekends seem to be where we see the better gas prices for sure. Okay, the last little bits of the stats that I want to focus on, and obviously you can all check this out yourself, but I think it makes for good conversation. The total number of teams available. So if you just go onto the OpenSea page, click on floor price, it brings up everything that's available. 12.18%. That's crept up over the last week. It was 12.01 or 2% last time we were on. So 10, 20 teams extra for sale, which I don't think is anything significant. It's pretty much just the same. But I think, again, a very, very healthy statistic for the project. I've saw a few tweets on Twitter. Those of you that follow me on Twitter, pretty active on following a few of the other projects that are going on. And there's been some plenty of projects talking about being only 15 or 20% of their total number of tokens for sale. And I think at 12%, we're probably at the skinny end of the wedge there, which is pretty good. Yeah, Daniel, absolutely. The gas price at the moment, just before I got onto the sale, I mean, it might not sound like it. I try to do a bit of prep for this, for these streams, so I can try and bring you some decent information. But I was getting itchy fingers at that gas price. There's a few things across the board that I've been looking at trying to pick up, and when you can set the gas as low as 65, 70 and let something chip away in the background, I think that's about as good as we're going to get. It certainly has been over the last 2 or 3 weeks. I haven't seen gas prices as low as this, so there's definitely an opportunity there. It will fluctuate around. It's just jumped back up to 90. It will fluctuate around, but definitely you've got an opportunity tonight to get some sales in. Some of you have mentioned that the one of the segments that we can try and build into this, and this whole stream will grow as we go, the biggest sale of the week, the bargain of the week, and that kind of thing. So I wanted to jump to the Sydney Bored Apes. We had a bit of discussion about this. Mitchell picked this one up, the Sydney Bored Apes, earlier on in the week. I think it was 4 days ago. 1.6 ETH. It had previously been traded for 1.5 ETH, so probably no profit there when you take off the fees, but it's just been shuffled along to a new buyer. The Bored Apes have obviously taken up a lot of our discussion. We talked about them on Tuesday as well when we last went live. But 1.6 ETH, when people are willing to part with, the better part of, what is 1.6 ETH? The better part of 10, 8, 9, 10,000 Aussie dollars. I think it's a healthy sign of the project. But I think we've given the apes a lot of airtime on the stream so far. Definitely wasn't bought for the stats, the levels. I keep looking at those. It doesn't make my decision any easier or any worse when I'm going to look at teams, but it was absolutely bought for the utility around the Bored Ape, and as we saw in the pre-sale, the pre-season tournament, at least one Bored Ape was getting close to the end. So I think when the tournaments kick off in the new year, if we see some of these apes getting close, I think the stream will absolutely be focusing on the prices of the Bored Apes as they go up. We focused on the highest sale, but I, as well as a few of you, might want to be looking at some of the lower end sales. I've been focusing my efforts, as you know, I'm after a Zeus, so that's the only thing higher end that I'm looking for. But at the lower end, we saw a sale go for 0.062. I'm not sure we'll see lower than that. There might be one or two wrapped ETH bids. I know there's 0.05, 0.06 wrapped ETH bids around, and Sammy wanted to get rid of this particular team. But as it happened, for those of you that are in the Discord, you will know who Cozzy Dog is. Cozzy Dog, Ryan Hoffman, Rugby League, Melbourne Storm, swooped in around about this time last week. I think it was Saturday last week, and picked up the floor piece. So that's that was the lowest. And I think this worth pointing out. There's a lot of people who I've talked to in other Discords or friends that are not into this, and it's too expensive to get in. The gas prices, but 0.06 and the floor is still 0.064. Whilst it's still a significant amount of money, to have some skin in the game, to be involved in the project, I think that's terrific value. And whilst this, if you ask Sammy, this particular team stayed there for quite some time, there are still bargains at that low end of the floor. So it's worth pointing out every week what that floor team went for. More my one of the things that I like to look for. I'd probably check out most of the sales that go through each day, but one of the sales that went through earlier on today, this morning, around about 10, 11 o'clock. I don't know what I was doing at 10 or 11 o'clock today. I must have been sleeping or something, because the amount of times I check OpenSea and I'm reviewing what's going on, to miss this was a major error, compounded by the fact that our resident whale Justice sniped it. He's probably one of the people that's on more than most. The Lion Vulpines, big thing about this one, and we can have a bit of a close-up look at this. The ETH crown, it's pretty rare. There are less than 100, less than 100 ETH crowns. I think there's 93 ETH crowns. Let's have a quick look. Not the normal crowns. We looked at this on Tuesday, and I think the Bitcoin crown and the ETH crown, there wasn't much difference between them. There's a little bit of rarity difference. Let's reset. This is the NFTeams Club /teams website for anybody who doesn't know where I've just jumped onto. 93 teams, and this was picked up for 0.16 ETH. So for me, when you're thinking about what the bargains are, you could look at some of the Bored Apes. We've had some Bored Apes go for closer to 1 ETH, and you could argue those are bargains. For me, I almost look at it as a percentage. So what sort of level would I have put this had I not known it was for sale? Now, if we take a bit of a closer look, we had a look at this on Tuesday. The ETH crowns and the Bitcoin crowns are trading at around about 0.3, or at least that's the floor. The floor for the ETH crown is around about 0.3 at the moment. So you've got two at 0.3. It's really thin, jumps up to 0.5 really quickly, and then there's not that many for sale. People are holding on to these. I don't think there's going to be. I'd happily go out on the record and say that will be the cheapest ETH crown we will ever see. I'm convinced of it. I think 0.16 is an absolute steal. And for me, that is definitely the bargain of the week. At around about a 45-50% discount. I don't think there's been many sales or many teams that have gone for that level of discount versus the floor. Just take a drink there. So Justice, we're going to have a ban on Justice next week. We're going to have no Justice conversations. He keeps on dominating the stream, but to be honest, Justice is pretty. He's always in the Discord. He's always helping people out. He's always inputting into the discussions. It's great to have him as part of the community, but obviously he's our biggest holder as well. So fair play. He's still putting his hand in his pocket and picking out the bargains when he sees them. And I think, to be honest, I think you're probably not going to get much better than that. What I did want to do, we might just jump through to to Justice's wallet. So if you ever see somebody's name you want to go and have a quick look at, you can jump onto their wallet. Justice has got over 70 teams, so there's plenty on here. And the trait that I want to have a look at today, we'll probably look at a couple of traits every week, but I noticed that there were 3 or 4 in Justice's wallet that were put up for sale, as we mentioned earlier, which had the suit on. And it's something that I think, again, something that I think is flown a little bit under the radar. I know there's some people who look out for it. There's pretty much every trait has the people that are, I guess, more inclined to want to buy them and keep their eyes out. So if you go back to the team's website, if you click on suits, not as rare as some of the other stuff we've looked at. So 188 in total here, but still less than 200 out of the 10,000 collection. You're getting into that rarity category where you will notice that you won't see some of these things on the floor. I think if you get above anything that's under 200 or 2% of the total collection, you don't often see them sitting around at the floor price. So for me, I'm just keen to have a bit of a look at the where we're at. Have a little bit of look at the suits. So again, back at the main page, filtered on suits, price low to high. The suit at the moment, the floor price is 0.165. Now, again, I think as with a lot of the stuff we discuss on here, most people aren't looking at the traits as individual. I think the combination of traits, and that's something we might get into as time goes by. We might have a look at the combination of traits, but looking at the suit on its own, this is where I usually go when there's something I'm particularly looking for, and then trying to have a look if there's anything that I like the suit comboed with. Suit with glasses usually looks pretty good here. The Rome Undead for 0.24. I think that's it's probably a reasonable price, but again, it's each their own. But the suits at the moment at 0.165. I think it represents a little bit of value given the rarity. The floor isn't so thin on these. There's a lot of people looking to move them on. So if it is something you're interested in, I think you've got an opportunity to get a bargain if you put a few of the wrapped ETH bids in. So for me, this is probably a thicker floor than what we've seen elsewhere. Have a look at some of, try and pick out one that you want, and then maybe put in some wrapped ETH. I mean, the Audacious Moo Cows, I was looking at this a little earlier. I mean, it looks pretty cool. I think the suit on the right, character with the right traits, it can really look pretty special. I just wanted to have a quick look at that. Yeah, just looking at the comments, the 0.16, I was kicking myself, but he absolutely puts in the hours, so you can't blame Justice for that. But yeah, some of us probably hope that he, I know we talked about it on Tuesday, it sniped a panda from right under my nose, which I'd been looking at. And he's got the full set. He's one of 2 people that has the full set, so he must be running out of money soon. DTAC, I think that's maybe a little bit of wishful thinking on all our behalfs in some respects. I think, I hope he keeps on buying. It's good for the project. It's good to have him as part of it. But yeah, absolutely, it's hard when you've got some of these quick shooters in the project that have got a good solid wallet. But as I said before, he is looking to trade. So if anyone sees anything in his wallet that they're keen on, I think trades are definitely looked at. Yeah, the OG passes. That's a pretty good point, and that was one of the items that I just wanted to have a look at. That was sort of the second trait that I was going to have a look at this week. There's been a bit of discussion around the the OG passes as well as the mint passes. So for anyone who doesn't know, if you go into official links in the Discord, there's a separate, a separate project link on OpenSea to the NFTeams passes. You can load up the passes, and this takes you back to all of the 5 mint passes and the OG passes that are for sale. Now, the reason I wanted to just add a quick look at this was, was obviously twofold. The 5 team mint passes, we've seen some go for a lot cheaper than that. I have a heart attack. Some of you may Hey guys, we just dropped out there. I think that screen, I've had this before on the stream, when you try and load that screen up, because there's so much data that pops up on the screen, it overloads the stream. So I'll drop out of that. But the 0.03 for the 5-min passes, I think, is really, really interesting, because nobody knows. Can someone just pop in the chat as well if they can still hear me? Nobody knows what they're going to be worth. So if we start off and look at the min passes, which are the 5 team, for 0.03, is it worth taking a punt? I'm still out there. I think most of us have got one or two of them, and there's been some speculation about what they could be. But I think if you are willing to take a bit of a punt, Steve's obviously playing his cards close to his chest. He hasn't let much away on the min passes. I think you are, for 0.03, which is the floor, if you put a few wrapped ETH bids in around about that amount, and you got somebody just willing to give. Sorry guys, I think we're having a few latency issues there. I think if you put a few wrapped ETH bids in at 0.03, you're willing to get someone who is almost willing to give those away. Hey guys, sorry about that. I think I dropped out. Can we just get a comment or two in there to see if you've got me back? I think it's jumped back in, but there's obviously some latency. Saturday night, this happened last Saturday night, so I've tried to put a bit of a backup in place to try and get us up a lot quicker. So obviously the dropout there, 30, 40 seconds, but I think with a lot of internet traffic, it is a little bit more tricky to get on the Saturday night. I have put in for an upgrade of the connection where I am, but apologies for that. Yeah, so what I would say with the min passes is we've seen 2 or 3 of the OG passes go for 0.2. Now, I think I hummed and hawed about what I was going to do at 0.2, and at the time I had a lot of wrapped ETH offers in. I didn't want to use my ETH in that direction. In hindsight, that was a big mistake for me in the project. I think at 0.2, the OG min passes were absolutely a bargain. Sharing with you all, I think I'd be willing to pay, probably at the moment, it's probably a bit of FOMO that the 0.2 I missed, so I'm probably shortening my bid here. I'd probably go up to 0.3 at the moment. That extra trait, a lot of people have got different ideas about how valuable it will be, but for me, this is my major project in NFTs, I think to have that extra trait on there and have that sort of, I guess, prestige in one of your teams. On the flip side of that, and I know some of you have discussed this as well, I don't have a team that I'm really, really drawn to at the moment. There's 2 or 3 of my teams that I really like. There's not one that I absolutely love, so that would make the decision harder. And then from a value add point of view, if you're going to pay, $1,000+ for a OG min pass, what sort of team do you want to add it to? Do you add it to something that's closer to the floor to bump up the value, or do you put it on your rarest, most sought after team and try and build that brand, build that team? If you think about this thing going long term, having that OG necklace around its neck could be super valuable when you're trying to promote your team. So I think it's a great question. I don't think as many people are looking at it, and I think it's definitely something you should keep an eye on. Is rarity overrated for this project? So just going back to Jason's question, I'm a rarity fiend. I think a couple of people have called me, so I'll run with that. I know where you're coming from. I tend to agree. I think at the moment, the way the initial tournaments are set up, any team is worth exactly the same in the major tournaments, and the major tournaments are where there's going to be more ETH on offer. Having said that, I've seen this week as well, and I watch it very closely. There is a lot of activity still around the teams that are more rare. I think a few people have worked out that the shields and the backgrounds are not. The shields aren't as rare as what they make the rarity score, but I can probably predict with confidence when we get rarity tools come out, some of the teams at the top of that rarity, their value will go up. So I think it is overrated, to answer your question. I still look at it, but I do think in the current rarity scale, it is overrated, absolutely. Yeah, so Warren, again, we've had this discussion on Discord. The wrapped ETH bids are, um, it is a bit frustrating, and I share some of that frustration. I've put in a hell of a lot of wrapped ETH bids. Sorry, guys, I think it's still dropping out. I'll try and do my best to get through it. We've got 5 so minutes to go. We'll try and wrap it up. If you look at the activity for NFTeams on the OpenSea page and you just scroll down the price, the little black Ethereum signs are the normal bids. You see a 0.25 bid here. Saka Mal put quite a few bids in. He wanted one of the sponsor backgrounds. So I think there were a few 0.25 bids in, but that was absolutely more than reasonable. But if you look, there's actually hardly any. There's a 0.